Reverend Kiyamaya Raman said, this is an excerpt from a reading, she said, "It is that time to hold to the steadfast hands and hearts and prayers of the ancestors that have brought us thus far. Time to make them proud and show them and ourselves what we are made of. Time to show them that their prayers and their sacrifices and their lives were not in vain and did not go unnoticed, nor have they been forgotten." So I have been here a little over a year and a half with the congregation, and of course anybody who comes to our campus and walks through those doors and walks in this room goes, "Holy cow, what is this? I've never seen anything like this before." So all that year and a half I've been here, I've been curious, what is the story? And I understand Barbara Bedingfield was president of the board when this building was raised. So I invited Barbara to come talk to me, to answer a few questions, and then to talk a little bit about what the culture was like when there was nothing in this space, how this came to be, and then that this is the roots part of our discussion. Join me. Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
You're in the choir, right?
Oh, yes.
So this whole time I had no idea that you have this institutional memory of UUC.
Well, such as it is.
So there were 3 questions. I wanted to know, what was the mood of the community when the idea for this building surfaced?
Well, to give a little history, when I first joined the church, and I'm sure others who are attending here today the same, the church was in the social hall, but not the whole social hall, just the back half. So when I joined, there was a minister, Will Ingram, and it turned out that he was terminally ill with cancer, but he stayed in the pulpit until he couldn't any longer. Then the church was without a minister for, I think, 7 months, until a new minister came from Atlanta, Reverend John Burciaga, and his wife, Georgia. And he brought a new energy into the congregation, so much so that our membership began to grow, and we had to have 2 services for a while. And he also brought I think it was his idea probably that we should build a space, a new church building. And so in '79, there was a feasibility study to see if we could do that, and tried to raise some money on our own. I think we only raised $15,000. So we decided to hire a professional fundraiser from the UUA. And he came, and as it happened, I was able to work for him. I was between jobs. So he started a series of meeting the congregation members in their homes and letting each person talk about what the church meant to them. So excitement began to grow, and we decided that we would undertake the building of a new church. So 3 of us went to New York to the Veach Committee, which is a grant-making organization as part of, I think, Plandome Unitarian Universalist Church. That was Gareth Whitehurst, who actually was president at that time. I was president later, the next year. And Ed Wild, who was the provost of University of Tampa, and myself, and we went to beg for money for a loan. And I think they saw our excitement because we had this new minister and the congregation was growing, and so they loaned us more money than they had ever loaned any congregation in the history of the Veach Committee. So that certainly helped bring it about.
So excuse me, I'm going to back up a little bit. So you're telling me you had a minister that you loved. He died of cancer, so people probably were also grieving a loss. And then a new minister comes in and there's excitement. And I think you told me there were, 208 new members in 1 year?
I think it was in 3 years.
In 3 years.
77 to 80.
1977 to 80.
Yes.
So it wasn't built until...
Right.
So there was a real need to consider space.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And you answered, let's see, how much objection rose?
Well, there were some people who thought this was beyond our means. And as I was working for the fundraiser, he said, you know, you're going to be surprised at who gives the money for this. So he had talked to people, and he knew how to do his job. And in addition to the pledges that the members made, there was all kinds of volunteer work that went on. And I wanted to mention that people stepped forward to say, for instance, Chuck Scheimer said, I will do a stop smoking clinic. And his wife, Jeannie, said, well, I'll coordinate transportation for people who need rides to the church. And another member said, well, I'll form a housekeeping committee to make sure this new building is kept in good order. So the excitement was throughout the congregation that we were all doing this together. And we negotiated a pretty short-term loan, which turned out we couldn't fulfill our obligation. But Veach renegotiated the loan, and we paid it off in 1998 and burned the mortgage.
Almost 20 years later,
Yeah.
but okay. So where is Veach located? We know it's Shelter Rock. Where is that?
It's in New York.
In New York, a place that has no tie except through our Unitarian Universalist connections. Okay. So the other thing, what do you think was a fundamental point about getting people to rally around a new idea?
Well, we were excited about who we were as a congregation, and we formed a building committee that I chaired. So we gathered ideas from everyone, and the minister himself was excited about having a church in the round because he felt it represented a democratic ideal. And other people said, well, we want to be a performing arts center. We want to have lecture series. We want to have art exhibits. And so we made sure that we had a place to exhibit wonderful professional artwork. So just with everyone getting involved in these new ideas, it was an exciting venture that we took on.
Okay, so excitement fueled some
Yes.
of that. How did the colors come about?
Well, I remember standing in the building when it was just concrete everywhere, and I was standing with Barbara Weikart, the late Barbara Weikart, who was the wife of our music director. She was holding a conch shell in her hand, and she was looking around and looking at that beautiful wood ceiling, and she came up with a warm orange color.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the roof also. The first plans were tall structure, but a little roof?
Yes, we hired the architect, Bob McCullum, and he kept bringing drawings of very tall sided buildings with short roofs, and the committee would say, no, that looks too sterile, something's wrong. And finally he came in with this long roof, and we immediately loved it. It looked like some ancient temple. So that's how it came about. It was Bob McCullum.
It's very distinctive. As a
Yes.
newcomer pulling you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like a giant hut?
Yeah.
Or, so when you come in, then it's impressive. It's really impressive.
And we had a little conflict on whether or not we would dare to buy a 9-foot grand piano. The music director, Lou Weikart.
This one here?
Yes, this one. Lou Weikart insisted that you could not have anything but a grand piano in this room. So I'm sure that some individual came up with the money. Gareth Whitehurst found this piano and offered $15,000, and it belonged to a concert pianist. So it has had a home here ever since.
Okay. And actually, did you have it before the building?
No.
Because that space looks like it was carved just for the grand piano. So what was happening, and maybe you all can help, what was happening in the United States in the late 70s?
That's somebody else.
Feminist movement, right? A call for more inclusion. What else was happening? Anybody have a memory of the early 80s? Civil rights. Okay. LSAO? Oil embargo. Okay. Nicaragua.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so in the midst of making important decisions in the community, for this community, there were concerns in the outside world, right? Financially, I know that in 1951, when this congregation that has gone through a few different names, it was a time of abundance in 1951, but there were also major issues through the 50s and 60s. We all know that. So I want to recognize the people here who were part of Barbara Bedingfield's story. Would you rise if you were part of the history of this congregation, or raise your hand? Let us know if you were part of this. Thank you, because it's about having faith in the shared decision-making, right?
And at one point, I think it was the year I was president, we, really took seriously the idea that we couldn't support this church with just bringing casseroles to a potluck. So the pledges increased by 14% on that year.
Okay. So money was involved
Oh,
from the congregation. Thank you. This is the roots part of our discussion. I wanted to know more. Again, 1951, you mentioned the Zen Center at some point was over here, right?
Yes.
And
it was a Waldorf school in 1998.
A Waldorf school.
That's
in
where we
1990.
started.
Okay. Was that you?
Yes.
I thought I heard about you in a Waldorf school.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara, for your
welcome.
commitment. Can we have the music while I get Yeah, thank you, Barbara.
My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down. I am a wildflower pushes through the storm. I am a wildflower pushes through the storm. I am a wildflower pushes through the storm. My roots go down. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down. I am a willow swaying through the storm. I am a willow swaying through the storm. I am a willow swaying through the storm. My roots go down. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down. I am a mountain and reach for the sun. I am a mountain and reach for the sun. I am a mountain and reach for the sun. My roots go down.
longer history of Unitarian Universalism is way back, long before the Nicene Creed and the 325. There were a group of individuals when they were forced to make a decision about the God, the Trinity. There were people that said, we believe in Jesus as a man, and they were outvoted. And so ever since then, there has been a cry for individuals to say, we believe in the walk, the path of Jesus, the man that he was. And there were others that said, we believe in the divinity of Christ, which is all good. That's where we are today in Unitarian Universalism. We have many wildflowers, right? Not just one. We want many different perspectives, personal hopes and aspirations, and yet we are part of a Unitarian Universalist community. We pour our hearts, our volunteer time, our money into the work of this congregation because almost now, more than ever, we need a liberal congregation, a Unitarian Universalist congregation in the community. That was our roots. Now our wings, our path to the future. Why does our community need Unitarian Universalists in Clearwater? We need UUC to thrive and flourish very much today. What is the climate of our times? This is easy. I know you can tick these off just as much as I can. Ban books that dismiss American history, the width and the breadth of the contributions of authors of color and authors of LGBTQAI identity. They're being wiped out, inaccessible. Our children, however, need to see themselves in the literature. Therefore, we put a little banned book out on the sidewalk for anybody, a little banned book library for anybody who wants to read the stories that aren't accessible. Body autonomy is on the line. Women are denied the right to the care that they choose and need. Our trans community members are having their medical needs withheld. Our trans individuals, our non-binary individuals, are facing threat and disharmony in the community. They need a place to come to be themselves and fully loved and accepted for who they are. We know that affordable housing is an issue of immediate concern in our community. We know that having access to water that's not polluted, all of this is part of the social justice work that goes on in this community. The challenges over climate change have only deepened. The voices of Unitarian Universalists are needed today. Our gathering place nurtures and supports other individuals who share our values. Here they too have a place to meet, to plan, and to proceed with solid goals for a sustainable future. UUC today, as we look to next year, the finances, we're in the early stages of creating a beautiful quilt. But everyone knows a quilt begins with many patches. This morning, I'm suggesting that we take the patches of our UU past and begin to add our new ones to the fabric of the future. What I heard in Barbara's story this morning is a need to change, to accommodate and adapt to the current times. At the time, 200 people, 200 members within 3 years was a huge challenge. So you all and those ancestors of the past came together and said, what do we need to do to accommodate the changes? Building this building was a product of those efforts. Now I have to tell you, you've heard me say this when people say, this is the way we used to do it. And I say, we're not there anymore. We're not there anymore. You did not hear me say anything about this building. My question for your future is how? How will this campus, these buildings, be sustainable? It doesn't mean we have to change or tear apart a building. It means what can we do differently to accommodate our new normal? We have people on Zoom. The way to accommodate was to add cameras and to correct sound in here, so it's good. You mentioned, Barbara, that this space was created for a lecture series and speaking series. Let's not let that be lost. And so maybe there's ways of looking around the community. Who needs a space to share lectures and information? So it also means, do we share this space with other people? Do we change the time we meet to accommodate? We did so with Unity. It worked well for a little while. It was a little challenging, but people accommodated. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't want any more arguments or any discussions about what do we do with this or that building. It is, how are we going to move into the new year, the year ahead starting June 1st for our budget year, and how will we think differently about our campus? What can we offer that we haven't done before? And it means thinking creatively. I love the idea of living room conversations. I love that idea. And in the year ahead, I would like to sit down with every friend and pledging member, every pledging friend and member, even newcomers, our young people. I want to hear what our young people say, their hopes for this future. And then I think within a year, I would like to have some kind of a plan for how we move forward with a new future. Are you with me?